I was thinking about something. Maybe just check. Alright. Okay. Alright, well, welcome back to FireSide. Today we're going to be talking about something that it's always kind of interested me. It's always interested me. And it was the idea of Outbreak Day. And if you've been following Last of Us, and if you just know just a minimum of knowledge of this game, of its first game, you would know that September 26th in the first game was when the Outbreak pandemic occurred. And so it's like a gaming holiday. Every year, Naughty Dog will celebrate the Last of Us series with showing or even selling merchandise, posters, artwork, and even information about upcoming projects for it, all that stuff. And I just want to kind of not necessarily make theories, but to just think about the possibilities of what could come out of this Outbreak Day, of Outbreak Day 2021. Or Outbreak Day 2021. Goodness, 2020. I bet many people think, many people want it to be 2021, but no, it's still 2020. But I want to tackle on this because many people, because everyone has their own theories and everyone has their own views, and I just want to go through it and just examine to what possibilities it could have. The obvious one would be the factions multiplayer for Last of Us Part 2. And I obviously am extremely hoping that is the case, that they release or just give it a release date, honestly. Because I don't know if they're going to release it. You would think that they would, you would think that they would first promote it, then they would give you a release date, and then they would release it. But it's not far from the possibility of it. I don't know if the Last of Us Part 2 factions is going to be... I don't know if it's going to be for PS4. I very doubt it's going to be for PS4. And the reason that I say that is because Sony, at the end of the day, they want money. It all comes down to money. And obviously, in my last two episodes, we talked about just the complete decline of, and the discount, the major discount of The Last of Us Part 2 over the past 3 months. Because many people, they don't like it. They don't like it. Many people don't like it. And everyone deserves their own opinion. And you can't really do much with those. You can't really do much with that. But it seems like since it kind of, in the eyes of fans, failed, and the company realized this, the creators realized this, the developers realized this, and it's like the only way to really get people to buy the next installation of the Last of Us series would be, 1, to get the PS5, and 2, to get the Last of Us Part 2 factions. So really, it's a way to sell the PS5. And I know PS5 has been dealing with a little bit of hard time at selling their product. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, the PS4 is a very successful system right now. It's kind of ruled the gaming world very dominantly for the past, I think, half a decade, and it's done a lot of good things. And I think also, obviously, you would have to deal with the daily economy being kind of shut down a little bit, so that might have to do with it too. Probably a bunch of other things. Who knows? The possibilities are endless. So, so the first thing here, obviously, we would have to say, I would say about this is the Last of Us Part 2 multiplayer. It's very possible this could be the release, or it could just be a release date. It's very possible for it to be for PS4, but I doubt it's going to be for PS4. Because they're going to be working on a multiplayer that is a project. It's a game for a project. It's a real project they are working on. The reason they didn't put the Part 2 factions into The Last of Us Part 2 is because they worked so hard for The Last of Us Part 2's single player, and so they were like, you know what, let's just make it one project for the story and one project for the multiplayer. And surely, obviously, that is very different. You would think that when you get a game that you get the multiplayer with the game, but they have decided to do it this way, to separate the two for two different projects, which I can only respect it. You know, I can't just go around and go on a rant because it's not going to change nothing. And two, I respect their desire to be different. I respect their desire to try something new, and I understand that. And the only thing I can do really is just respect it and just live with it and accept the reality that they are making a different project for maybe a different system. It's very possible that this multiplayer project, I like to call it Factions Part 2, or Factions 2. I've seen people say it too. And so I'm going to kind of steal the name for a minute. I'm going to steal the name for a minute, and I'm going to say this, okay, that I think that it's going to be a separate project for a separate system. I don't think that they're going to have I don't think they're going to have a multiplayer for the story on the same exact console, because it's a different project. You know, it's a different project. Now, once again, I could be wrong. They could release it on Outbreak Day. They could give it a release date on Outbreak Day and then release it sometime during the next couple of months. But it's very unlikely because, one, the PlayStation 5 is, I don't think it's, I don't know if it's actually in sale right now, but if it is, that makes it even more likely that they're going to be going with the factions for PS5, because the PS5 has already been released, and you know. But there's something else that I would like to talk about too, is this idea of it coming out for PS4, because they were working on the multiplayer, and so unless they are the entire time that they were working on the multiplayer for The Last of Us Part 2, that they have decided the entire time that, you know what, it's going to be for PS5 when the PS5 comes out, because I'm pretty sure they got them notified at the time before it was going to come out and to work on it. But it's very possible, since they have been making the multiplayer for quite some time now, that they decided sometime down the line of creating the single player for this game, they decide, you know what, we're going to grab all of the developers, all the components, and all the people to work only on the single player. And so you would have to change. They had prior knowledge that the PlayStation 5 was going to be coming out, and I do believe that was the case. So yeah, I think, and so I think that this is obviously one thing that could be considered what could be coming out, and so I don't know. We're just going to have to see what's going to happen next, because who knows? It might be free. It might be free. It might have to cost you some money, or it might be coming out for PS5. We don't really know much about the multiplayer right now, and that's what people want to know. They want to know. They want to know what's next for this game. What's next for this game? They want to know. People want to know, because there are people who love it, like myself, who have a hard time with the story, but still love the character, still love the story. And we still believe in this game, and we have not lost all hope in this game. Some of us obviously we've had it shaken, and some people even have it mostly destroyed. But for me, once it was shaken, when you first beat the game, you're shaken, Man, it was itching. But when you beat the game, you're shaken a little bit. Especially in the first couple of hours, you are very, very shaken by this entire thing, about everything that's already happened in the game. And then when you take the pill, the huge, gigantic pill at the end of it, you're like, what happened? So people want to know what's next. And there's obviously the HBO series that is supposed to be coming out sometime, I don't know, in this year or next year. I believe next year. Maybe even later because of the pandemic, the quarantine. And so I honestly think that could be a one. The second one, obviously, what I just stated, the HBO series. They could be sharing some light and sharing some information about the HBO series, which would be awesome, because I am very interested in a TV show. I'm not interested in a movie. And even the developers of the Last of Us series they weren't even getting behind it, because they already did it. They already made the cinematics. There was no need for a movie, and a movie can only do so much. But a TV show can do far more than a movie ever could. You can tackle so many things on a TV show. And that's why I love them. I love TV shows way more than movies, because TV shows are deeper. They're deeper. They're more than just this. They're more than just, I have this, and that. It's more than just, you get to experience it in a long way. While you have to watch a movie, you get the entire plot, I think it's called climax, and the resolution in like 2 hours, maybe 3. You get all of this in just like 2 hours, when a TV series grabs those and extends it and does so much with it. And that's why I liked it. When I heard they were doing a TV show, I was like, holy crap, that sounds good. When it was confirmed that they were working on and they were writing the story for the HBO Last of Us series, I was extremely excited, because I recognized that TV shows have so much more longevity and entertainment than movies do. I've never been a big fan of movies. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I never have, because of how short it feels. There's so much you could have done with that, but you made it into like you covered, once again, the plot, the climax, and the resolution in like 2 hours, and you could have done so much more with it. But once again, obviously, you would have to have like money to do stuff like that. So I'm not like a big giant gaming chauvinist about that. So I'm not gonna sit there and do that. But I do really like the idea of a TV show. So yeah, TV show. I think that'd be good. There's obviously going to be artwork, merchandise, shirts, etc., accessories. I would like for them to sell like that Dina's bracelet and Joel's watch. I really would like to have that. Especially Joel's watch, because it's pretty, it's pretty iconic. It's pretty iconic. And that wrist, that bracelet that was Dina's, that Dina gave to Ellie, I think that's like Ellie's watch, if you could say that. It was given to her by someone she cared about, and and once again, this comes back to the story. I don't agree with every single decision they did in this game. I believe that Joel died too early, way too early. I think that it was when I first saw it, I was like, I had a feeling Joel was going to die, but I had no idea they were going to die that fast. He was going to die that fast. I was shocked when I saw that, especially when they showed his tombstone. I was like, holy crap, they killed him off. And I was like, man, that sucks. I was heartbroken, man. And I've told you guys, I've told you guys this before. With me, grief is not something that is like that. That's not how it works for me. It's very delayed. It takes a while for me to actually feel the grief and the realization of it, and it's very weird because I've watched people play this game and beat this game, and they deal with real emotions where real people that they love died. They go through the 5 stages of grief. And it's truly just remarkable to see that they can do that to you, So I don't know. I don't know necessarily why Naughty Dog went down this path. I don't know why Neil Druckmann directed it in this way. I don't know. I try really hard to understand and see the beauty and the glory of seeing this and what it produces, but sometimes I just don't understand it. It confuses me, it hurts me sometimes, and there are times where I do understand it, but there's times like, man, why did it have to happen? It's you have those emotions when you lose someone you care about, someone you love. You feel like if finally you have the ability to, you feel like if finally you're one place in your life where you say, okay, this is how it is, I'm going to accept it and move on, but you never really accept it and move on. Not really. And then there are times where you sit there and you ask yourself, why did this have to happen? And it's like you losing a family member and asking God, why did this happen? Why did this happen? So, it's a real, authentic death that has really gave us real emotions. And you're dealing with real grief, real mourning. And it may not be real in the sense that it's exactly like losing somebody, but it's very close to it. You got to the core of it and how it feels. It's terrible, guys. Sometimes it's even hard for me to even think that he's gone. It really does bother me sometimes, and that's how this game has gotten to me in some ways. So I kind of went on a rabbit trail. Forgive me, I didn't mean to go down the rabbit trail, but I just wanted to say that I don't agree with. I don't even understand some of the things they did with Joel. I don't understand. I think he died too early. And I wish that they did a little bit more with Abby's character, between Joel and Abby. I think when I first saw it, I'm like, this has the opportunity and the possibility and the just sheer possibility that this could be a great relationship between these two people. Joel saves Abby, and Abby feels indebted to him, and so she sticks with him, and they build this relationship together. And then she obviously wants to know who killed her father, so Joel helps her. And obviously you would have to change some of the things, because when she finally shoots him in the leg and drags him, and she tells the people to drag him to the wall, he identifies him. She knows exactly who he is. So obviously I would have, if I was going through my way of doing this. It would be saying, she had no idea who killed her father. So that's what I would have done, because I'm a writer. I write, and I write stories too. So it's from my own perspective and my opinion to how I would direct such a story. And it is not necessarily to give him an honorable death, but to do more, not just with Joel, but with Abby as well. So I just that's one of the things I just want to say. But there's many other things that we could talk about, and there's one more thing that I've heard people say, and that is the possibility, very low possibility, about getting Last of Us Part 3 information. Now, some people say Last of Us Part 3 is not going to happen. Part 2, that's the end of the story, period. Then there's people that say there has to be a Part 3. There has to be. There has to be a Part 3. And it's very interesting that Last of Us Part 1, when it ended, people said, we don't need a story. We don't need a story. And yet we got a next story. But now people are saying, we need a next story, and it's very possible we won't get a next story. We won't get a Part 3. So, yeah. You don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if we are going to get any information for Part 3. Because, who knows, man? Who knows? Who knows if we're actually going to, get anything. Oof. Yeah, so I don't know. So, Last of Us Part 3, it's very unlikely. Maybe next year? I don't think this year. I just don't think there's any way that they could have. There's no way they could have been doing that right now. Unless there was only a certain team that's working for Part 2's factions, and then another part of the team is working for Part 3 to get out something. I don't think that's the case. I think Factions 2 is their next project. I think it's their next project, and who knows after that? Who knows? It might be a new project, maybe Part 3, because we don't know what story's next. There is a possibility the last Part 2 was never going to be made. Because of not finding a story that's emotional, that has emotion in it, and a story that has no emotion. It's the type of emotion that he wanted in the game, and that's what was kind of missing. And once again, I don't agree with every single thing he did and directed in the game, but I try to accept it, and I try to understand why I'm making that decision. And one of the reasons is that Neil Druckmann really sends you down a very dark story that tackles, I think, one of the darkest plots and I think in any entertainment. I have not seen a darker story than The Last of Us Part 2. It is extremely dark. And it sends you down this hole of all things that go wrong when you go after revenge. And in actuality, it's an obsession of vengeance, and it's just never ending. Just keeps on going. And that's exactly, I feel like, what's going on with this is he drives you down a very, very dark hole, and I think that everything would have been different if they did something different. I do believe the entire point tell that she is not okay. She is very sad, very depressed, traumatized, and survivor's guilt. She's just emotionally, she's in the worst place. And I've always said it like this: Joel became Ellie as she was in the first part of the game, but then Ellie became what Joel was when he was the first part of the game. They switch, and it's like Joel has finally found that comfort, that closure, that that part of him that was that part of him that was missing. He found it, but now Ellie has what he had, and so part 2, I feel it's the way that I look at it. It's actually Ellie finding closure, and I think that she could have found closure in another way, because nothing more bothered her than her being the only cure, and Joel took that away from her. Her purpose was taken away. And you can tell, every flashback you have, it's related to that event. It's related to that specific event in her life. And you can tell that right there was the kind of the point to where she felt so repressed, purposeless, hopeless. You could tell that. Because this is the thing that hurt her the most. And I just wish they went down that road instead of something else. Even Neil Druckmann had that. He had that story. He had that in his mind, but he said it wasn't emotional enough. It wasn't the emotion that he was looking for. And so he went down this road. So I really wanted it to be that way, not the other way around. I think the alternate version of it was, I would have liked it much better. Simply because my heart wouldn't be broken, and I think that Abby would be more likable in that sense, that she would be a great character. So yeah, I mean, I just wish they went that way, not this way, but you have to, when it comes to something like this that you love and you really have been looking forward to it as much as I have, you have to come to that place where it's like, you know what? I need to be okay with this. I need to be okay with the way that it went. I need to be okay with it, and I try my best to accept it. And sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's not. It all depends on the day I'm going through, So it's very hard to deal with, all this stuff, and many people. I think I saw one person told me on the comment section one time. He says, "You don't really talk a lot about Joel's death." The reason I say that is because I'm kind of like Ashley Johnson when she was being interviewed by somebody with Troy Baker and Neil Druckmann, and she said she needed space from a certain amount of distance when talking about it, and I understand exactly what she means. I have a hard time talking about it because you're facing a experience all over again, a painful one to which you don't even watch. So it's guys, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's just one of those things, y'all. And I really hope that one day I will be just completely satisfied with how the game happened and how it was made and how it came to be. I'm really hoping that I can come to that place, but who knows? Maybe that never will come. And you have to be content with that as well. And so that's what I'm trying to do. So I know I went down a big rabbit trail, but yeah, the possibility of something of a hint for Last is Part 3 is if there is a Part 3 is very, very unlikely, extremely unlikely, since they just got done making Part 2, and they're working hard for the multiplayer. That's their next project, I believe. It's a separate project. They've even stated that before. So I'm anticipating the Factions Part 2. Factions 2, I'm looking very forward to that. And I'm hoping that it's not for PS5. I do not want to have to buy a PS5 just to play one game. It sounds ridiculous to me even saying that. And a game that's a multiplayer. It's not even a story. It's not even single player. I would understand if it's a single player. I even told you guys, hey man, if it comes out PS5, shoot, I'll buy a PS5 because it's the story. I'm looking for the story. So I would have gotten to that if it came down to it for Part 3, but I don't know. I don't think I can get it for PS. I don't think I can get the PS5 just to get the multiplayer. If I have to, I'll just play the multiplayer for the first game, and that's just how we're gonna have to roll from at that moment until I have enough money to get it. But if it came into the PS to the Last is Part 3, then yes, I will get a PS5 just for the single player. And the other games, obviously, there's other games that I would like to play, but I don't see much on my plate that I'm really interested in. Part 2 was the game that I was so interested in, and it's just I'm just not into it anymore. I don't have that anticipation that I had before, because for so long I had this passion and love for this game, this anticipation for Part 2, and I got it, but I'm not necessarily satisfied with it, you know? It didn't live up to the hype in my own eyes, you know, and I was very, very, in a sense, in a way, disappointed. And so, yeah, and mind you, once again, it was in my eyes. It didn't live up to its hype in my eyes, because when I got the game, they didn't put that expectation. I did. I put the expectation in my own mind. They never promised me anything, and nothing that I was coming in my mind. They didn't have anything like that. What they had was their own ideas, and that's why they barely talked about it. Because you cannot talk pretty much about anything about this game. You give it away. You can't give them the name of this woman. You can't tell her what she did. You can't tell her role in this. You can't. Man, who knows? So, anyways, guys, because I can't get a PS4, a PS5 right now. I can't get it. So yeah. Anyways, guys, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. If you're on here for this long, and yeah, if you enjoyed it, leave a like, consider subscribing, and comment if you want to. All right. See you guys in the next one.